Hello my lovelies, it is time for a ridiculously huge book outlet haul, so stay tuned. Oops, I did it again. I bought too many books. Where will it end? Yeah, I did a thing. So I have 6 book outlet boxes here to unbox. I'm going to try to get through it as quickly as possible. I may actually have to take some breaks throughout because there's so many, and I'm gonna have to eat dinner eventually, and I have live reading sprints later. So I'm gonna just kind of go through this as quickly as I possibly can. First, I'm gonna move you a little closer. Not too close since I have an Einstein right here and he'll knock my tripod over. Okay, I'm just shy of Einstein's little paws, so if there's any wiggling of the tripod, that's why. All right, let's start with this top box here. So I've got my little packing slip here, and we've got some paper, some more paper. So I recently acquired this first book, actually. I want to tilt the camera because it's kind of cutting off the top of my head. Hold on. That's better. Okay, so this first book is one I actually already own, but I was able to get a hardcover, and I wanted a hardcover instead. And that is My Lovely Wife by Samantha Downing. And this is about a couple that, to spice up their marriage, they kill people. That's all I really know about this. That's all I want to know. I know a lot of people really like this, so I'm looking forward to reading it. Okay, so the next book we have here is A Dream So Dark by L.L. McKinney. And this is the sequel to A Blade So Black, which is like Buffy the Vampire Slayer meets Alice in Wonderland. And yeah, I saw the sequel on there and I wanted to grab it. All right, sorry if the angle changed, but the animals knocked out the tripod, and that was because Marty was home and they all went nuts. So I went ahead and I had dinner, but I only have a few minutes until I have to get on the live show, but I wanted to continue doing this for a little bit. So the next book I have in here is Wild Savage Stars by Christina Perez. This is the sequel to Sweet Black Waves. And honestly, I can't really remember anything about Sweet Black Waves except that it came in one of my subscription boxes. So I pulled it up on Goodreads to tell you about it. It says, two proud kingdoms stand on opposite shores with only a bloody history between them. As best friend and lady-in-waiting to the princess, Branwen is guided by two principles: devotion to her homeland and hatred for the raiders who killed her parents. When she unknowingly saves the life of her enemy, he awakens her ancient healing magic and opens her heart. Branwen begins to dream of peace, but the princess she serves is not so easily convinced. Fighting for what's right, even as her powers grow beyond her control, will set Branwen against both her best friend and the only man she's ever loved. And it's inspired by the star-crossed tale of Tristan and Isolde. This is the story of the legend's true heroine, Branwen. For fans of Graceland and the myths of Avalon, this is the first book in a lush fantasy trilogy about warring countries, family secrets, and forbidden romance. Okay, continuing with sequels, next I have When She Reigns by Jodi Meadows. And this is the third book in the Fallen Isle series. The first book is Before She Ignites. For some reason I was thinking this was the second book, but it's actually the third. I don't own the second one yet. Unless it's something else I ordered and I can't remember. It's not in this box though. Let me read you about Before She Ignites. Before, Mira Minkoba is the hope bearer. Since the day she was born, she's been told she's special, important, perfect. She's known across the Fallen Isles, not just for her beauty, but for the Mira Treaty named after her, a peace agreement which united the 7 islands against their enemies on the mainland. But Mira has never felt as perfect as everyone says. She counts compulsively, she struggles with crippling anxiety, and she's far too interested in dragons for a girl of her station. after. Then Mira discovers an explosive secret that challenges everything she and the treaty stand for. Betrayed by the very people she spent her life serving, Mira is sentenced to the pit, the deadliest prison in the Fallen Isles. There, a cruel guard would do anything to discover the secret she would die to protect. No longer beholden to those who betrayed her, Mira must learn to survive on her own and unearth the dark truths about the Fallen Isles and herself before her very world begins to collapse. Okay, next up we have Finding Yvonne by Brandy Colbert. I don't really remember too much about this. I just know a lot of people have enjoyed this. I think Chelsea from Chelsea Darling Reads enjoyed this one. I think that's actually where I learned about this book. This says, some choices are easier than others, and I still have the most difficult one ahead of me. Yvonne has had her trusted violin to keep her company for years, especially in those lonely days after her mom walked out on her family. But with graduation just around the corner, Yvonne is forced to face the cold, hard truth. She might not be good enough to be accepted into a music conservatory after high school. Full of doubt and increasingly frustrated by her strained relationship with her father, Yvonne meets a street musician who understands her struggle. He's mysterious, charming, and different from Warren, the familiar and reliable boy who's had her heart for the last 2 years. But when Yvonne gets an unexpected surprise that could change her life forever, she has to make the hardest decision yet. Okay, we've only got 2 more books in this box, so I want to try to get at least this box done before I have to go. Okay, next up is another sequel, but this one's actually book 9. This is book 9 in the Fever series by Karen Marie Mooning. This is Fever Song. I'm working on collecting this whole series. I've read several of them many years ago and absolutely love them, but yeah, I want to gradually get all of them. Let's see. This takes place in the same world as the Highlander series, and it includes the Danny O'Malley trilogy. Michaela Lane's life is good. She has great friends, a decent job, and a car that breaks down only every other week or so. In other words, she's your perfectly ordinary 21st century woman, or so she thinks, until something extraordinary happens. When her sister is murdered, leaving a single clue to her death, a cryptic message on Mac's cell phone. Mac journeys to Ireland in search of answers. The quest to find her sister's killer draws her into a shadowy realm where nothing is as it seems, where good and evil wear the same treacherously seductive mask. She is soon faced with an even greater challenge, staying alive long enough to learn how to handle a power she has no idea she possessed, a gift that allows her to see beyond the world of man into the dangerous realm of the Fae. And I loved what I read of this series, so I want all of them. And wow, this box was mostly sequels. The next book we have here is another sequel, and that is A Bright We Burn by Kirsten White. And this is the 3rd book in the Conquerors saga, which the first book is And I Darken. And let me see. This is like a female reimagining of Dracula, where, instead of Lord Dracula, we have Lady Dracula. It says no one expects a princess to be brutal, and Lady Dracula likes it that way. Ever since she and her gentle younger brother Radu were wrenched from their homeland of Wallachia and abandoned by their father to be raised in the Ottoman courts, Lotta has known that being ruthless is the key to survival. She and Radu are doomed to act as pawns in a vicious game, an unseen sworn hovering over every move. For the lineage that makes them special also makes them targets. Lotta despises the Ottomans and bides her time, planning her vengeance for the day when she can return to Wallachia and claim her birthright. Radu longs for a place where he feels safe, and when they meet Mehmed, the defiant and lonely son of the Sultan, Radu feels that he's made a true friend, and Lotta wonders if she's finally found someone worthy of her passion. But Mehmed is heir to the very empire that Lotta has sworn to fight against, and that Radu now considers home. Together, Lotta, Radu, and Mehmed form a toxic triangle that strains the bonds of love and loyalty to the breaking point. Okay, that is all in this box. I'm going to pause this video now so I can go and get on these live reading sprints, which I might actually not do reading during the sprints and do filming during the sprints. So I need to get this done. So, oh, I just realized that my address has been showing. Okay, I'll have to have blurred that out. Anyway, I'll be back in just a second. Okay, I am back and we are ready for the next box. All right, we got some paper. Okay, so the first book we have in this box is Bright Raven Skies by Christina Perez, and this is the third book in the Sweet Black Waves series. And I've already told you about that one, so continuing on. Next up we have Pet by, I can't remember how this is pronounced, Akwe Imzi. This is a middle grade. It's actually really short. I learned about this from Kaylani over at Kaylani Simply Me. And she really, really liked this. I think it was one of her favorite of the year. Oh, it's got a flower, I mean not a flower, a feather embossed on the cover here. This says, there are no monsters anymore, or so the children in the city of Lucille are taught. Jam and her best friend, Redemption, have grown up with these lessons all their lives. But when Jam meets Pet, a creature made of horns and colors and claws, who emerges from one of her mother's paintings and a drop of Jam's blood, she must reconsider what she's been told. Pet has come to hunt a monster, and the shadow of something grim lurks in Redemption's house. Jam must fight not only to protect her best friend, but also to uncover the truth and the answer to the question, how do you save the world from monsters if no one will admit they exist? In their riveting and timely young adult debut, oh, it's young adult, never mind, acclaimed novelist Akwe Imzi asks difficult questions about what choices you can make when the society around you is in denial. And I'm sorry if I'm butchering that name. But yeah, this is a lot shorter than I expected. Let's see, 203 pages, so this will be a quick read. Okay, next up we have Sky Without Stars, book 1 in the System Divine series. And I actually got an art of the second book from Y'all Fest, not in 2020, but 2019. And so I wanted to get this when I saw it come up. This says, a thief, an officer, a guardian, 3 strangers, 1 shared destiny. When the last days came, the planet of Latir promised hope. But 500 years later, it's now a place where an extravagant elite class reigns supreme, where the clouds hide the stars and the poor starve in the streets, where a rebel group long thought dead is resurfacing. Whispers of revolution have begun, a revolution that hinges on 3 unlikely heroes. Chatine is a street-savvy thief who will do anything to escape the brutal regimen, including spying on Marcellus, the grandson of the most powerful man on the planet. Marcellus is an officer and the son of a traitor. Groomed to command by his legendary grandfather, Marcellus begins to doubt the government he's vowed to serve when he discovers a cryptic message that only one person, a girl named Alouette, can read. Alouette is living in an underground refuge where she guards and protects the last surviving library on the planet. But a shocking murderer will bring Alouette to the surface for the first time in 12 years and plunge Latir into chaos. All 3 have roles to play in a dangerous game of revolution, and together they will shape the future of a planet. Power, romance, and destiny collide in this sweeping reimagining of Victor Hugo's masterpiece, Les Miserables. And I love a bookish book, whether that be bookish characters, a bookish setting, a book within a book. I love that kind of like trope or whatever. And this last surviving library on the planet, yes, I am here for that. Also, we discussed this series a little bit with Jessica Brody in the live show that we did with her a while back. If you're interested, I'll link that up here for you to go and check out. Okay, next up we have Deviant, which is book 2 in the Lifelike series, which I got Lifelike in one of my subscription boxes, and so when I saw this come up, I thought I'd get it. Let me pull up on Goodreads lifelike, so I can tell you about that. Okay, so for lifelike it says, it's just another day on the scrap. Lose the last of your credits at the War Dome, dodge the gangs and religious fanatics, discover you can destroy electronics with your mind, stumble upon the deadliest robot ever built when Eve finds the ruins of an android boy named Ezekiel in the scrap pile she calls home. Her entire world comes crashing down. With her best friend and her robotic sidekick in tow, she and Ezekiel will trek across deserts of irradiated glass, battle cyborg assassins, and scour abandoned megacities to save the ones she loves and learn the dark secrets of her past. All right. Okay, next up we have A Very Large Expanse of Sea by Tahira Mafi. And I've heard lots of really good things about this. And I'll tell you about it in just a second because now my battery's flashing. Hold on. Okay, sorry if our angle changed again. Anyway, on to this book. This says, it's 2002, a year after 9/11, and Sharon has just started at yet another school. It's an extremely turbulent time for the world, but also for someone like Sharon, a 16-year-old Muslim girl who's tired of being stereotyped. Sharon is never surprised by how horrible people can be, but she's tired of the rude stares, the degrading comments, even the physical violence she endures as a result of her race, her religion, and the hijab she wears every day. She decided long ago not to trust anyone anymore, and she doesn't expect or even try to fit in anywhere or let anyone close enough to hurt her. Instead, she drowns her frustrations in music and spends her afternoons breakdancing with her brother. But then she meets Ocean James. He's the first person in forever who really seems to want to get to know Sharon. It terrifies her. They seem to come from two irreconcilable worlds, and Sharon has had her guard up for so long that she's not sure she'll ever be able to let it down. Tahira Mafi, best-selling author of the Shatter Me series, returns with a gorgeous and heart-rending new novel inspired by her own experiences with first love, breakdancing, and the devastating impact of prejudice. Pretty. Okay, and then the last book in this box, and this is a book that I own multiple copies of, but I really like this series. But this is The Wizard of Oz, and this is the Puffins Graphic Plus. It's a graphic novel, an original text all in one volume. And I mean, I don't have a graphic novel of The Wizard of Oz, so I'm excited to read this. It's very cute. Okay, so that's everything that's in this box. On to this big gigantic box here. Alright, we got some paper. A lot of paper. Okay. We got a lot of books in here. Okay, so this was one of my boxes pretty much full of clearance books. So everything in here was like $1-ish, maybe. Okay, I just pulled up the order on my phone, and it looks like we've got $1.19, $1.19, well, multiple at $1.19, a couple at $2.69. There's like one at $5.39, one at $3.19, several at like 99 cents. So yeah, these are all super cheap. Let's just dig right in. Okay, first one we have is The Lost Code, Book 1 of the Atlanteans by Kevin Emerson. And this is a floppy paperback. Love that. This says, in the year 2086, Camp Eden promises summer the way things used to be, back before the oceans rose and modern civilization sank into chaos. Located in the Eden West Biodome, the camp is an oasis of pine trees, cool water, and rustic charm. But all of Camp Eden is not what it seems. No one will know this better than 15-year-old Owen Parker. A strange underwater vision, even stranger wounds on Owen's neck, and a cryptic warning from the enchanting lifeguard Lily hint at a mystery that will take Owen deep beneath Lake Eden and even deeper into the past. What he discovers could give him the chance to save the tattered planet. But first, Owen will have to escape Camp Eden alive. Kevin Emerson's thrilling novel, The Lost Code, is book 1 of the Atlantean series. All right. Okay, next we have Don't Expect Magic by Kathy Magulo. And this is a short book too. This says, Delaney Collins doesn't believe in fairy tales, and why should she? Her mom is dead, her best friend is across the country, and she's stuck in California with Dr. Hank, her famous life coach father, a man she barely knows. Happily ever after? Yeah, right. Then Dr. Hank tells her an outrageous secret. He's a fairy godmother, an FG, and he can prove it. And by the way, the FG gene is hereditary, meaning there's a good chance that New Jersey tough girl Delaney is someone's fairy godmother. Even though she's not the pink and sparkly type, but Delaney soon finds herself with a client, Flynn Becker, a boy at her new school who's hopelessly in love with a girl who doesn't know he exists. Flynn's wish is Delaney's command. With her customized black boots and chopstick wand, Delaney does everything in her power to make Flynn's wish come true. But what happens when a fairy godmother needs a wish of her own? And this just sounds so freaking cute. Oh my goodness. Let's see how long this is. 247 pages. Super excited for this one. Next we have Into the Darkest Corner by Elizabeth Haynes. And this is apparently a gripping psychological thriller. It says, when young, pretty Catherine Bailey meets Lee Brightman, she can't believe her luck. Gorgeous, charismatic, and a bit mysterious, Lee almost seems too perfect to be true. But what begins as flattering attention and spontaneous, passionate sex transforms into raging jealousy, and Catherine soon discovers that Lee's dazzling blue eyes and blonde good looks hide a dark, violent nature. Disturbed by his erratic, controlling behavior, she tries to break it off, but turning to her friends for support, she's stunned to find they don't believe her. Increasingly isolated and driven into the darkest corner of her world, a desperate Catherine plans a meticulous escape. 4 years later, Lee is behind bars and Catherine, now Kathy, is trying to build a new life in a new city. Though her body has healed, the trauma of the past still haunts her. Then Stuart Richardson, her attractive new neighbor, moves in. Encouraging her to confront her fears, he sparks unexpected hope and the possibility of love and a normal life. Until the day the phone rings. Dun dun dun! Also, rather floppy paperback. Okay, next we have Agents of the Internet Apocalypse by Wayne Gladstone. And this is another short one. Love me some short books. They're handy to have on occasion. Gladstone, the so-called Internet Messiah, has not only failed to bring back the World Wide Web, which disappeared mysteriously several months earlier, but his search also has landed him in a New York City psychiatric ward. The rest of the world isn't doing so well either. Filled with disconnected internet users still jonesing for a fix, and an increasingly draconian government, interrogating and detaining anyone deemed a person of interest under the Net Recovery Act. For Gladstone, however, finding the net is less important than heading to Los Angeles to win back his ex-wife. He takes up residence on the couch of his old friend, gossip blogger Toby, while trying to rebuild his lost romance. But when Gladstone's old journal account of the internet apocalypse goes paper viral, his newfound celebrity puts him at the forefront of the internet reclamation movement. Soon he is the target of shadowy government agents and a reluctant collaborator with Anonymous, who provides a clue that promises to explain the internet's disappearance. Full of funny yet cutting social commentary, Agents of the Internet Apocalypse continues the series that imagines a dystopian world without the web. Wait, continues the series. Is this a series? Hold on. Okay, no, not a series. For a second I was worried. Okay, let me see how many pages this is, because it is also a short book. 245 pages, though there are a couple of pages that are like this at the end. Not sure what that's about, but this sounds really interesting too. Next up we have Loop by Karen Atkins. And this, let's see. This says, at school where Quantum Paradox 101 is a required course and history field trips are literal, 16-year-old time traveler Bree Bennett excels at screwing up. After Bree botches a solo midterm to the 21st century by accidentally taking a boy hostage, a teensy snafu, she stands to lose her scholarship. But when Bree sneaks back to talk the kid into keeping his yap shut, she doesn't go back far enough. The boy Finn, now 3 years older and hot as a solar flare, is convinced he's in love with Bree, or rather, a future version of her that doesn't think he's a complete pain in the arse. To make matters worse, she inadvertently transports him back to the 23rd century with her. Once home, Bree discovers that a recent rash of accidents at her school are anything but accidental. Someone is attacking time travelers. As Bree and her temporal tag-along uncover seemingly unconnected clues, a broken bracelet, a missing data file, the art heist of the millennium, that lead to the person responsible, she alone has the knowledge to piece the puzzle together. Knowledge only one other person has, her future self. But when those closest to her become the next victims, Bree realizes the attacker is willing to do anything to stop her, in the past, present, or the future. And this sounds fun. Okay, next up we have Lola Carlisle's 12-Step Romance by Danielle Young Ullman. This says, Lola Carlisle is lonely, out of sorts, and in for a boring summer. So when her best friend Sydney calls to rave about her stay at a posh Malibu rehab and reveals that the love of Lola's life, Wade Miller, is being admitted, she knows what she has to do. Never mind that her worst addiction is decaf cappuccino. Lola is going to rehab. Lola arrives at Sunrise Rehab intent on finding Wade, saving him from himself, and naturally making him fall in love with her, only to discover she's actually expected to be an addict and get treatment and talk about her issues, the ones she refuses to admit, even to herself. Plus, she has insane roommates and irritatingly attractive mentor, Adam, who's determined to thwart her at every turn. Oh, and Sydney? She's gone. In a place full of fragile, damaged people, Lola is in trouble. But like it or not, she will be rehabilitated, and along the way, she might find herself and love if she can open her heart long enough to let it happen. Okay, I'm gonna go and look at how much time is left on my timer, and I'll be right back. Okay, so my time was just about up, and my SD card was full, so again, sorry, the angle changed. Next book we have is Modern Monsters by Kelly York. This says, Vic Howard never wanted to go to the party. He's the invisible guy at school, a special kind of hell for quiet, nice guys. But since his best friend is as popular as Vic is ignored, he went anyway, and wished he hadn't. Because something terrible, unimaginable happened to Callie Wheeler that night, and now she's told the police that Vic is responsible. Suddenly, invisible Vic is painfully visible, on trial both with the police and the angry kids at school. As the whispers and violence against him escalates, he becomes determined to clear his name, even if it means an uneasy alliance with Callie's best friend, the gorgeous but aloof Autumn Dixon. But as Autumn and Vic slowly peel back the layers of what happened at the party, they realize that while the truth can set Vic free, some truths can destroy a life forever. Okay, next two books in here are books 2 and 3 of the Atlanteans, which I already told you about book 1, but here you go. We got Dark Shore and Far Dawn. Next is In Doubt by Drusilla Campbell. This says, defense attorney Sophie Gerardo is about to open a new practice in her California hometown when the beloved governor is shot during a celebration in the town park. The only thing more shocking than the crime itself is the identity of the would-be assassin, a seemingly gentle teenager named Donnie. Driven by her desire to understand what could make a person suddenly commit such a terrible act, Sophia reluctantly agrees to take him on as a client. But soon she realizes that she also has personal motivations, a desire to prove to her mother that she is not the self-destructive teenager she used to be, to prove to her ex-husband, who happens to be the prosecuting attorney, that she can win her case, and to prove to herself that the traumatic events of her adolescence no longer define her. As she digs deeper into Donnie's past, Sophie begins to suspect that he might not be the cold-blooded killer everyone thinks he is. To uncover the truth, she is forced to come to terms with her past and to fight for what she knows is right, even if it means risking her reputation and possibly her life. Okay, then we have The Rules by Nancy Holder and Debbie Vigai. This says, welcome to the hunt. Rule number 1, never trust the people you call friends. Rule number 2, be prepared for some seriously dangerous situations. Rule number 3, keep your eyes open, especially when it's dark. Rule number 4, you are your only lifeline. Rule number 5, always follow the rules. Junior Robin Brissett has no idea what she's in for when she accepts an invitation to one of Calabrese High's most exclusive parties. And when the trademark scavenger hunt begins, Robin must go against every rule she's lived by to survive. And that's all it says. But on the back, it is blurbed by 2 authors that I really enjoy. We have, the rules follows all the rules of a truly creepy teen thriller. Start out fast, keep the tension high, and kill great characters. Loved it. Cami Garcia. A twisty-turny, blood-soaked thrill ride. The Rules is a classic horror at its very best. I couldn't put it down. Gretchen McNeil. I'm really looking forward to reading this. Next, we have The Epic Adventures of Lydia Bennett by Kate Roderick and Rachel Kiley. And this says, you're only a supporting character if you let yourself be. Lydia Bennett was a normal 20-year-old, plotting ways to skip classes, find the perfect fake ID, and escape her sleepy hometown in Northern California as quickly as possible. But when her older sister Lizzie started a wildly popular vlog that turned herself and her sisters into internet sensations, Lydia had to learn the hard way that not all attention is good. After her ex-boyfriend betrays her trust and destroys her reputation online, Lydia must learn to navigate a newly fragile and judgmental world. A standalone novel based on the genius, Emmy Award-winning web series, The Lizzie Bennett Diaries, The Epic Adventures of Lydia Bennett, reveals for the first time what happened to the beloved youngest Bennett sister and the rest of the family after Lizzie's camera stopped rolling. Hilarious texts, essays, and tweets throughout the novel bring Lydia's distinctive and endearing voice to life in this lively, heartwarming novel that reimagines one of Jane Austen's most memorable characters for the digital age. Wait a minute. So this is a standalone, but it's kind of a spin-off thing of the Lizzie Bennett Diaries. So I think I might need to look into getting that. Okay. Another floppy paperback. Yeah. Sorry if the angle changed again. Einstein kind of came and went amok here, and then he pottied on the floor and moved my tripod. Yeah. Let's try to continue for just a couple minutes because my time is about to run out on the sprint. Next book we have is Infected by Sophie Littlefield. This says, Karina's senior year is spiraling downward fast. Both her mother and her uncle, the only 2 family members she's ever known, are dead. Their deaths were accidents, unfortunate results of the highly confidential research they performed for a national security organization. Or so she's been told. She's not buying it. After finding a unique code hidden beneath the stone in a ring her mother left her, Karina goes straight to the only person she has left, her boyfriend Tanner. Following a trail of clues by solving a series of cryptic puzzles, Karina and Tanner are on the run to prevent her family's work from falling into the wrong hands. The people Karina loved kept dangerous secrets, secrets that make her question the life she's been living till now. Her life is on the line, but more importantly, so is Tanner's, and if she fails, he dies. And this is another short one as well. Also, Einstein is back here between me and the tripod, so we'll see if he ends up knocking it over again. Okay, this has 242 pages. Okay, I think I have time to tell you about maybe one more book. So the next one here is, The Adrenaline Junkies Bucket List. 100 Extreme Outdoor Adventures to Do Before You Die by Christopher Van Tilburg. And I'm very, very, very excited for this because I want to do all the fun things, and this is full of fun things to do, so I'm excited for this. It's just the ultimate guide for outdoor sports enthusiasts seeking the world's most fantastic adventures. And yeah, I am all for it, as much as I can anyway. Ski the glaciers. I mean, I'd have to learn how to ski, but paddle the, Futalefu in Chile. Ride frozen waves, ski and snowboard in Chile. Sail or paddle the Inside Passage, British Columbia. Fun. Okay, cool. And now Tigger is here as well. So we have a cat and a dog right here in front of me. Okay, next thing we have is Immaculate by Caitlin Detweiler. And this says, Mina is top of her class, girlfriend to the most ambitious guy in school, able to reason and study her way through anything. But when she finds herself pregnant, despite having never had sex, her orderly world collapses. Almost nobody believes Mina's claims of virginity. Her father assumes that her boyfriend is responsible. Her boyfriend thinks she must have cheated on him. As news of Mina's story spreads, there are those who brand her a liar. There are those who brand her a heretic. And there are those who believe that miracles are possible, and that Mina's unborn child could be the greatest miracle of all. Okay, so I only have a couple more minutes before the sprint ends, so I'm going to pause this and I will be right back. Okay, so before I started this one up, I went ahead and switched out my battery because it was already like halfway down, so that hopefully I won't have any interruptions for the next almost 30 minutes. Let's get back into this box. Okay, this next book here is actually one that I think I already own, but when I bought it, I think I was thinking it was a different book. Yeah, because this is actually a series, but this is the first book in the series, and I've now got it in paperback and hardcover, and that's Denton Little's Death Date by Lance Rubin. And this says, tomorrow is the day I'm going to die. I don't mean to get all dramatic about it. I've known that tomorrow is the day I will die since I was born, just like almost everyone else in the world knows the date when they will die. Thanks to the group of doctors, scientists, statisticians, and astrologers who pioneered the field of astrophantogenetics, ATG. Is it still weird and anxiety-provoking that my death date is tomorrow? Hell to the yes. But do I need to get movie preview voice-over guy intense about it? Probably not. Well, if Denton Little knew what was in store for his last day, hangovers, love triangles, jealous exes, shotgun standoffs, and mysterious rashes, he probably wouldn't be so calm. And did I mention that Denton's death date is the same day as senior prom? Oh yeah, good times. And this really, it sounds like such a cute book. But yeah, it is a series, and this is the first book. Next up we have #Scandal by Sarah Ochler. And this says, Lucy's learned some important lessons from tabloid darling Jayla Hart's all too public blunders. Avoid the spotlight, don't feed the internet trolls, and keep your secrets secret. These policies have served Lucy well all through high school, so when her best friend Ellie gets sick before prom and begs her to take Cole, Ellie's boyfriend, to the dance, Lucy accepts with a smile, silencing about 10 different reservations, like the one where she'd rather stay home shredding online zombies, and the one where she hates playing dress up, and especially the one where she's been secretly in love with Cole since the dawn of time. When Cole surprises her at the after party with a kiss under the stars, it's everything Lucy has ever dreamed of, and the biggest BFF deal breaker ever. Despite Cole's lingering sweetness, Lucy knows they'll have to fess up to Ellie. But before they get the chance, Lucy's own Facebook profile mysteriously explodes with compromising pics of her and Cole, along with tons of other students' parties' indiscretions. Tagged, liked, and furiously viral. By Monday morning, Lucy's been branded a slut, a backstabber, and a narc, mired in a tabloid-worthy scandal just weeks before graduation. Lucy's been battling undead masses online long enough to know there's only one way to survive a disaster of this magnitude. Stand up and fight. Game plan? Uncover and expose the Facebook hacker, win back her best friend's trust, and graduate with a clean slate. There's just one snag. Cole. Turns out Lucy's not the only one who's been harboring unrequited love. Okay, next up we have Becoming Jen by Lori Goldstein. And this says, actually let me see, very purple. This says, Azra has just turned 16. She has shed her teen awkwardness overnight. Her body is lengthening and curving, and a brand new silver bangle glistens on her wrist. As she always knew it would, the day has come for Azra's Jinn ancestry to fully blossom. But beneath the magical fun of her new powers is the reality of her servitude, as her wish granting is controlled by a remote ruling class of Jinn known as the Afrit. Like other female Jinn, Azra has always lived among humans, and the summer begins with a job at the beach snack bar and newfound flirtations. But when no one's watching, Azra is also learning how to harness her powers and fulfill the obligations of her destiny. Mentored by her mother and a small community of Zar sisters, Azra soon discovers she may not be quite like the rest of them, and her powers could endanger them all. Then we have book 1 and 2 of the City of Dark Magic series. So this is book 1 and City of Lost Dreams is book 2. So this says, Prague is a threshold to another world where the fabric of time is thin, a city steeped in blood. Once a city of enormous wealth and culture, Prague has been home to emperors, alchemists, astronomers, and it's even been whispered portals to hell. When music student Sarah Weston lands a lucrative summer job at a Prague castle cataloging Beethoven's manuscripts, she has no idea how dangerous her life is about to become. Shortly after she arrives, strange things begin to happen. Sarah learns that her mentor, who had been working at the castle, may not have committed suicide after all. Soon she finds herself in a cloak and dagger chase with a handsome, time-traveling prince, a 400-year-old dwarf, and a U.S. senator who will do anything to keep her dark secrets hidden. Fast-paced and wildly imaginative, City of Dark Magic could be called a rom-com paranormal suspense novel, or it could simply be called one of the most entertaining novels of the year. Then we have Loud Awake and Lost by Adele Griffin. Yeah. This says, Loud. There was an accident. Ember knows at least that much. She was driving, the car was totaled, she suffered back injuries and brain trauma. But she is alive. That's the only thing left she can cling to. Awake. 8 months later, Ember feels broken. The pieces of her former self no longer fit together. She can't remember weeks of her life leading up to the accident. Where was she going? Who was she with? And what happened during those 6 weeks that her friends and family won't talk about? Lost. One by one, Ember discovers the answers to these questions like a twisted game of dominoes, and little by little, the person she used to be slips further and further away. Floppy paperback. Okay. Next, we have books 1, 2, and 3 of, I don't know exactly what the name of the series is called. Oh, Palace Chronicles. So we have Just Ella, that's book 1. Then Palace of Mirrors, that's book 2. And Palace of Lies is book 3. And, okay, can I just say how pretty are these covers? I love them. They're just such a pretty pastel colors. This is by Margaret Peterson Haddix, and I can read you about Just Ella. Being a princess isn't all that. You've heard the fairy tale, a glass slipper, Prince Charming, happily ever after. Welcome to royal reality. Genealogy lessons, needlepoint, acting like a proper lady, and worst of all, a prince who is not the least bit interesting, and certainly not charming. As soon-to-be Princess Ella deals with her newfound status, she comes to realize she is not your majesty material. But breaking off a royal engagement is no easy feat, especially when you're crushing on another boy in the palace. For Ella to escape, it will take intelligence, determination, and spunk, and no ladylike behavior allowed. And this just sounds so cute, and oh, I love it. They're also relatively short, especially the first one. It's only 188 pages. The other ones are a little bit longer. Yeah, book 2, it looks like it's 283 pages. Oh, I just noticed that they're like, they got a little slice in them for a few pages. Let's see. Book 3 is 355 pages. Okay. All right, and then the last 2 books in this box, we have Dueled and Divided by Elsie Chapman. And this is the first book in this series, or duology or whatever. I ended up with one hardcover and one paperback. But this hardcover is cool because it's like there's no dust jacket. This is just made onto it. It says on the back, you versus your twin, who is smarter, who is braver, who will pull the trigger first. It's Wes Grayer's turn to find out. Okay. All right, so that is everything in that big box. Now on to this next box. All right, we got some paper. All right, the first thing I see in here is Young Scrooge, a very scary Christmas story by R.L. Stine. And this just seemed fun. Holiday cheer becomes holiday fear in this funny, scary send-up of A Christmas Carol from best-selling Goosebumps author R.L. Stine. Rick Scroogeman hates Christmas. He can't stand the carols and the pageants. He can't stand the lights and the mistletoe. But what he hates is the most is having to watch the old movie A Christmas Carol every year at school. Since his name is Scroogeman, all of his classmates start calling him Scrooge, and he hates being called Scrooge. But everything starts to change when 3 ghosts visit him. At first he thinks it's a dream, but then he realizes that it might be a nightmare that could become real. Fine. Okay, next up we have A Book of 1,000 Days by Shannon Hale. This says, my lady and I are being shut in a tower for 7 years. Dashti has taken the oath of a lady's maid. So when her lady Saren refuses to marry a man she fears, Dashti chooses to receive a cruel punishment alongside her, imprisonment in a tall, dark tower. In the face of dwindling food supplies and harsh weather, Dashti does all she can to keep them comfortable in their prison. Then the suitors arrive, and Lady Saren orders Dashti to commit a crime punishable by death, assume her identity, and talk to them. With no choice but to comply, Dashti steps into Saren's shoes and soon finds herself falling in love with a boy she knows she can't have. But as she fights for her and Lady Saren's lives, Dashti realizes that even a low-born maid like herself can find true love and possess the power to save the day. Cute. Then we have Cast No Shadow by Nick Topolansky and Anise Espinoza. And this is a graphic novel. It looks super freaking cute. This says, Greg has lived in Lancaster his whole life. The town's always had its quirks, and being born without a shadow means he's counted among them. But quirky doesn't even begin to describe what he finds in the abandoned mansion just outside of town. Try smart, beautiful, funny, and man, she totally gets me. The house's one resident, a teenager named Eleanor, is the girl of Greg's dreams. Swoon. Oh, and did we mention she's a ghost? Because yeah, Eleanor is definitely dead. Unfortunately, their budding romance unleashes an ominous danger that threatens his hometown and everyone he cares about. How can Greg save Lancaster with the town's past and his own threatening to pull him and Eleanor apart permanently? And more importantly, what kind of future does he have with a girl who died 80 years in the past? And this sounds so cute. And it looks so cute. Okay. Then we have First and Then by Emma Mills. And this says, Pride and Prejudice meets Friday Night Lights in this contemporary novel about falling in love. Devin Tennyson wouldn't change a thing. She's happy, silently crushing on best friend Cass and blissfully ignoring the future after high school. But the universe has other plans. It delivers Devin's cousin Foster, an unrepentant social outlier with a surprising talent, and the obnoxiously superior and maddeningly attractive jock Ezra right where she doesn't want them. First into her gym class, and then into every other aspect of her life. Alright, next up we have... Oh dear, this one's got a little bit of damage on it. This is Keep You Close by Lucy Whitehouse. And like the dust jacket, it's got a little slice going on here. Not sure what happened there. The book's okay though. I can maybe put a little tape on that. It'll be fine. Alright, this says, a brilliantly twisting psychological thriller about old friends and dark secrets. When the artist Marianne Glass falls to her death, everyone insists it was a tragic accident. But Rowan Winter, once her closest friend, knows better. Marianne and the whole Glass family once meant everything to Rowan. Their lively intellectual household offered a world of possibility and the warmth and encouragement missing in her own home. But the friends have been estranged for a decade when Marianne dies, and of those, Rowan knows only what the papers reported. Marianne's swift ascent in the London art world, her much scrutinized romance with her gallerist. Now Rowan knows she won't rest until she discovers the truth about Marianne's death. The questions multiply. Is someone breaking into the Glass family house? Who is the man who watches at night from the opposite window? The deeper she goes, the more convinced Rowan becomes that something was, and may still be, very wrong. But some secrets are best left uncovered, and some can even be lethal. And then we have another Lucy Whitehouse book. This one is Before We Met. This one's also relatively short, 276 pages. This says, Hannah has always been wary of commitment, but when she meets Mark, a fellow Brit, one hot New York summer, her ideas change. Within months, they are married, and she has moved back to London to be with him, leaving her life in New York behind. But when Mark fails to return from a business trip, her certainty about their marriage starts to crack. Why don't his colleagues know about the trip? Who is the woman who keeps calling his office? And why has Hannah's bank account been emptied? Hannah's questions will uncover secrets that throw into doubt everything she has believed about her husband, secrets that lead to a place of violence and fear. Can you ever really know what happened before you met? Dun dun dun. Okay, next up is actually a book that I got for Xander. This is Coding for Kids. Create your own video games with Scratch. And I think this is cool. I don't know if Xander will actually use it or not, but I hope he does, because I think he would find this really interesting. Okay, last thing in this box we have a Celtic Spirit coloring book. And oh, this is pretty. I love like all this Celtic stuff. I do actually have some Irish heritage, so I love it all. Even my wedding ring is Irish. These are just all the different knots and stuff. Okay, so that's everything in that box. I think I have time to go ahead and get started on this next box. I don't imagine we're going to get too far into this box just because I've got like 8 minutes until the sprint's over. But I'm going to go ahead and get started while I can. Alright, we got paper. Okay. First thing I see here, and I didn't realize I got a mass market one, but that's okay. This is 72 Hours by Bella Jewel. And this says, a fate worse than death. It's all part of his sick game, a game he's been planning for an entire decade. Now everything is perfect. One woman and one man have been selected. They used to be a couple, and they can no longer stand each other. They are the perfect victims. He doesn't intend for the game to be easy. He wants to push them to the brink of insanity, to make his hunt real. A desire worth fighting for. The couple has been captured and dumped into a massive wooded area. There's only one rule in this fatal game. They will have 72 hours to find a way out before the sadistic serial killer begins his hunt. But what he never could have expected was the explosive passion that ignites between the two ex-lovers, one that makes them strong, fierce, and determined to do whatever it takes to escape and to survive. And it says Bella Jewel is a go-to author for a sexy read. Alrighty. Okay, next up we have The Wedding Shop by Rachel Hawk. This says, two women separated by decades, both set out to help others find their dreams when their own have crumbled. It's the early 1930s, but Cora Scott is walking in stride as a career woman after having inherited her great-aunt's wedding shop in Harts Bend, Tennessee, where brides come from as far away as Birmingham to experience her famed bridal treatment. Meanwhile, Cora is counting down the days until her own true love returns from the river to make her his bride. But days turn into months and months to years. All the while, Birch Good continues to woo Cora and try to show her that while he is solid and dependable, he can sweep her off her feet. More than 80 years later, former Air Force Captain Haley Morgan has returned home to Harts Bend after finishing her commitment to military service. After the devastating death of her best friend Tammy and discovering the truth about the man she loved, Haley is searching for her place in life. When Haley decides to reopen the romantic but abandoned wedding shop where she and Tammy played and dreamed as children, she begins a journey of courage, mystery, and love. As Cora's and Haley's stories intertwine through time in the shadow of the beloved wedding shop, they both discover the power of their own dreams and the magic of everyday love. Then we have The Light That Gets Lost by Natasha Carthew. And this says, there is a fire inside him, a demon, and it knows what it wants. After his sentencing, Trey arrives at the camp in the same way all the kids there did, damaged, angry, and criminal. He is hunting for the man who slaughtered his family years ago. If Trey must keep his head down and pretend that he has turned a new page, he will. But then friendship and loyalty start to complicate things, and before he knows it, Trey is caught in the flames of something wild and mad that he can't control. And this is also a relatively short one, 261 pages. Okay, I think I'm going to stop here because my timer's, I've only got maybe 2 minutes left. So I'm going to go and do that, and then maybe in the next sprint I can finish. We'll see. Okay, I am back, and I went ahead and swapped out my battery again, though this one didn't get a chance to fully charge. So fingers crossed we don't have to stop until we're done with this haul. All right, continuing on. We have Falling Like Snowflakes by Denise Hunter. This one actually is a little bit damaged here, but not bad, just a little nick. Oh, this says, Eden Martelli is too busy fleeing the clutches of danger to realize she's running straight into the arms of a new love. Speeding north through rural Maine, Eden Martelli wonders how her life came to this, on the run with her mute 5-year-old son dozing fitfully in the passenger seat. When a breakdown leaves them stranded in Summer Harbor, Eden has no choice but to stay put through Christmas, even though they have no place to lay their heads. Bo Callahan is a habitual problem solver, for other people anyway. He left the sheriff's department to take over his family's Christmas tree farm, but he's still haunted by the loss of his parents and struggling to handle his first Christmas alone. When Eden shows up looking for work just as Bo's feisty aunt gets out of the hospital, Bo thinks he's finally caught a break. Eden is competent and dedicated, if a little guarded, and a knockout to boot. But as he soon finds out, she also comes with a boatload of secrets. Eden has been through too much to trust her heart to another man, but Bo is impossible to resist, and the feeling seems to be mutual. As Christmas Eve approaches, Eden's past catches up to her. Beau will go to the ends of the earth to keep her safe, but who's going to protect his heart from a woman who can't seem to trust again? Alright, next we have Because You're Mine by Colleen Coble. Amid the beauty of Charleston, not all is as it seems. When her husband Liam is killed by a car bomb while their Celtic band is on tour in Charleston, singer and Irish beauty Alana doesn't quite know where to turn. Her father-in-law is threatening to take custody of the baby she carries, but Alana knows she can't lose the only piece of Liam she has left. Alana's manager offers her a marriage of convenience to obtain U.S. citizenship and allow her to escape the father-in-law's control. It seems like the perfect solution until she arrives at the family home of her new husband, a decaying mansion with more questions than answers. Strange things begin happening that threatens Alana's life and the life of her child. Are they merely coincidences, or is something more sinister at work? A mysterious painting, a haunting melody, and a love stronger than death leave Alana questioning where darkness ends and light begins. This sounds super interesting. Also, this cover, really pretty. Alright, next up we have The Long Journey to Jake Palmer by James L. Rubart. This says, what if there was a place where everything wrong in your life could be fixed? Corporate trainer Jake Palmer coaches people to see deeper into themselves, yet he barely knows himself anymore. Recently divorced and weary of the business life, Jake reluctantly agrees to a lake house vacation with friends, hoping to escape for 10 days. When he arrives, Jake hears the legend of Willow Lake, about a lost corridor that leads to a place where one's deepest longings will be fulfilled. Jake scoffs at the idea but can't shake a sliver of hope that the corridor is real, and when he meets a man who mutters cryptic speculations about the corridor, Jake is determined to find the path, find himself, and fix his crumbling life. But the journey will become more treacherous with each step Jake takes. Also sounds super interesting. Alright, the next 3 books we have here are a series. We have Storm Siren, Siren's Fury, and Siren's Song. These are by Mary Weber, and I freaking love these covers. So let me tell you about the first book here. As a slave in the war-weary kingdom of Phelan, 17-year-old Nim isn't merely devoid of rights. Her elemental kind are only born male and always killed at birth, meaning she shouldn't even exist. Standing on the auction block beneath smoke-drenched mountains, Nim faces her 15th cell. But when her hood is removed and her storm-summoning killing curse revealed, Nim is snatched up by a court advisor and given a choice: be trained as a weapon Phelan needs to win the war or be killed. Choosing the former, Nim is unleashed into a world of politics, bizarre parties, and rumors of an evil more sinister than she's being prepared to fight. Not to mention the trainer whose dark secrets lie behind a mysterious ability to calm every lightning strike she summons. But what if she doesn't want to be the weapon they've all been waiting for? Set in a beautifully eclectic world of suspicion, super abilities, and monsters, Storm Siren is a story of power, and whoever controls that power will win. And it's blurbed by Marissa Meyer, and it says, a riveting tale from start to finish. So very cool. These are also really pretty together. Alright, and then the last book in this box we have is Black Ice by Becca Fitzpatrick. And let's see. This says, sometimes danger is hard to see until it's too late. Britt Pfeiffer has trained to backpack the Teton Range, but she isn't prepared when her ex-boyfriend, who still haunts her every thought, wants to join her. Before Britt can explore her feelings for Calvin, an unexpected blizzard forces her to seek shelter in a remote cabin and accept the hospitality of its 2 very handsome occupants. But these men are fugitives, and they take her hostage. In exchange for her life, Britt agrees to guide the men off the mountain. As they set off, Britt knows she must stay alive long enough for Calvin to find her. Things get even more complicated when Britt finds chilling evidence of a series of murders that took place on that very mountain. A discovery that may make her the killer's next target. But nothing is as it seems in the mountains, and everyone is keeping secrets, including Mason, one of her kidnappers. His kindness is confusing Britt. Is she an enemy or an ally? Black Ice is New York Times bestselling author Becca Fitzpatrick's riveting romantic thriller set against the treacherous backdrop of the Tetons of Wyoming. Falling in love should never be this dangerous. Okay, that is everything in that box. Okay, now we are down to the very last box. We have paper, paper, and paper. Okay, so the first book I have here is Neverwake by Amy Plum. This is the sequel to Dreamfall, and I've fairly recently read Dreamfall. Really enjoyed it. It's about these kids that all have different kinds of issues, and they've just signed up for this experimental procedure. I think they all have different issues with like sleeping and things like that, insomnia or whatever. And they sign up for this sleep study experiment kind of thing, and they find themselves all in a collective dream world together when everything's kind of going crazy in the lab behind them, and everybody else is kind of thinking, okay, they're all in comas, but bad things, all of their nightmares are coming true, and they're having to live them collectively together, and they've got to figure out a way to wake up before they actually die, because there are things in their nightmares that are killing them. Okay, so this next book is one that is the second book in a series. I got the first book as an ARC a couple of years ago at Y'all Fest, and when I saw this one, which is the sequel to that, come up on Book Outlet, I wanted to pick it up. That is Storm from the East by Joanna Hathaway. And book one is Dark of the West, and I pulled it up on Goodreads to tell you about that. He was raised in revolution, she was raised in a palace. Can their love stop a war? Codename Verity meets The Winter's Curse in Joanna Hathaway's Dark of the West, a breathtaking YA fantasy debut. Orlai Icinder is a princess of a small kingdom in the north. Raised in privilege but shielded from politics as her brother prepares to step up to the throne. Halfway around the world, Athen Dakar, the youngest son of a ruthless general, is a fighter pilot longing for a life away from the front lines. When Athen's mother is shot and killed, his father is convinced it's the work of his old rival, the Queen of Atania, Orlai's mother. Determined to avenge his wife's murder, he devises a plot to overthrow the queen, a plot which sends Athen undercover to Atania to gain intel from her children. Athen's mission becomes complicated when he finds himself falling for the girl he's been tasked with spying upon. Orlai feels the same attraction, all the while desperately seeking to stop the war threatening to break between the southern territory and the old northern kingdoms that control it. A war in which Athen's father is determined to play a role. As diplomatic ties manage to just barely hold, the two teens struggle to remain loyal to their families and each other as they learn that war is not as black and white as they've been raised to believe. Okay, the next book here is another sequel. This is the third book in the Last Reality series. So I already own books 1 and 2, so I wanted to get book 3, which is Other Life by Jason Segel and Kirsten Miller. And I pulled up on Goodreads to tell you about Otherworld. The company says Otherworld is amazing, like nothing you've ever seen before. They say it's addictive, that you'll want to stay forever. They promise Otherworld will make all your dreams come true. Simon thought Otherworld was a game. Turns out he knew nothing. Otherworld is the next phase of reality. It's everything you've ever wanted. And it's about to change humanity forever. Welcome to the Otherworld. No one could have seen it coming. And I really enjoyed the first one, and I want to continue. Okay, next is a first book in a series, but I actually already own the second book. I got, again, as an art, probably at Y'all Fest, maybe even at BEA or BookCon. I can't remember exactly where this one came from, but I got the sequel and didn't have the first book, so I got the first book, and that is Spectacle by Jody Lynn Zedrock. This says, Paris, 1887. 16-year-old Nathalie Bauden writes the daily morgue column for La Petite Journal. Her job is to summarize each day's new arrivals, a task she finds both fascinating and routine. That is, until the day she has a vision of the newest body, a young woman, being murdered, from the perspective of the murderer himself. When the body of another girl is retrieved from the scene hours later, Nathalie realizes there is a killer hunting the streets of Paris, and her strange new ability may make her the only one who can discover his identity. Her search for answers sends her down a long twisty road involving her mentally ill aunt and a brilliant but deluded scientist, eventually leading her into the chilling depths of the Parisian catacombs. As the victim count continues to rise, Nathalie must follow the clues in her visions to discover the truth about who is murdering the young women of Paris before she becomes a target herself. And I think it sounds very interesting. As I think all of these sound interesting. Okay, next we have Wild Bird by Wendelin van Dranen. And I recently, well, fairly recently, I think it was last year actually, read another book by her, and I think it was Runaway, I believe. I couldn't stop crying from that book. I loved it so much, and so I wanted to read something else by her. This says, 8 weeks of survivalist camping in the desert, 8 weeks to turn your life around. Yeah, right. 3:47 a.m. That's when they come for Wren Clemens. She's hustled out of her house and into a waiting car, then a plane, and then taken on a forced march into the desert. This is what happens to kids who've gone so far off the rails their parents don't know what to do with them anymore. This is wilderness therapy camp. And Wren, who arrives in the Utah desert, is angry and bitter and blaming everyone but herself. But angry can't put up a tent, and bitter won't start a fire. It looks like Wren's going to have to admit she needs help if she wants to survive out here. And this one's relatively short as well. This one is like 311 pages. Next we have The Babysitter's Coven by Kate Williams. And this gives me like witchy Babysitter Club vibes. Ooh, yes. This says, 17-year-old Esme Pearl has a babysitter's club. She knows it's kind of lame, but what else is she supposed to do? Get a job? Gross. Besides, Esme likes babysitting and she's good at it. And lately, Esme needs all the cash she can get because it seems like destruction follows her wherever she goes. Let's just say she owes some people a new tree. Enter Cassandra Heaven. She's Instagram model hot, dresses like she found her clothes in a dumpster, and has a rebellious streak as gnarly as a cafeteria cooking. So why is Cassandra willing to do anything, even take on a potty training 2-year-old, to join Esme's Babysitter's Club? The answer lies in a mysterious note Cassandra's mother left her. Find the babysitters. Love, Mom. Turns out Esme and Cassandra have more in common than they think, and they're about to discover what being a babysitter really means. A heroic lineage of superpowers, magic rituals, and saving the innocent from seriously terrifying evil. And all before the parents get home. Yes. Oh my gosh, yes. Then we have The Lie Tree by Frances Hardinge. And this looks really cool. Ooh. That's pretty. This says, to earn a secret so profound, I would need to tell momentous lies and make as many people as possible believe them. Faith Sunderly leads a double life. To most people, she is modest and well-mannered, a proper young lady who knows her place. But inside, Faith is burning with questions and curiosity. She keeps sharp watch of her surroundings and therefore no secrets no one suspects her of knowing, like the real reason her family fled Kent to the close-knit island of Vane, and that her father's death was no accident. In pursuit of revenge and justice for the father she idolizes, Faith hunts through his possessions where she discovers a strange tree, a tree that bears fruit only when she whispers a lie to it. The fruit in turn delivers a hidden truth. The tree might hold the key to her father's murder, or it might lure the murderer directly to Faith herself. For lies, like fires wild and crackling, quickly take on a life of their own. I think this sounds awesome. And then last but not least, we have Metaltown by Kristen Simmons. And I say recently, but it's been several months, maybe even a year since I read the first one. But I read the Deceiver series by Kristen Simmons and absolutely loved it. And I want to read more by her. So I picked this up. This says, the rules of Metaltown are simple. 1, work hard. 2, keep your head down. 3, watch your back. When 3 unlikely allies, the orphan, the heiress, and the dreamer, break the rules, they'll have to rise up to challenge those with power to crush them or be crushed themselves. And I'm excited to read more from her. I can't remember if this was like her first book or her second. I can't remember, but so excited. Oh my goodness. That is all the books. That's a lot of books. Let me count, hold on. So that was 63 regular books for me, plus one book for Xander and 1 coloring book for me. So total 65. Yeah. So have you guys read any of these books? Did you like them? Did you not? Comment down below and let me know. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give me a big thumbs up. If you'd like to see more videos like this, click that subscribe button down below. And until next time, remember to always be completely you. Bye!